Hello everyone. It's Carlton with Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices Premier Properties, and I am here with your real estate basics, episode number 10 already, which is crazy that it's been 10 months since we've started this journey. Anyways, today we're going to talk about appraisals. So what is an appraisal? When do you need an appraisal? When can you waive an appraisal? When don't you need an appraisal? Kind of what the whole point is. So this is a live. Any questions you have, please just put them in the comments and I will be happy to answer those. I will also save this recording and put it on YouTube and all over the place. So if you're watching it somewhere later and you have questions, put it in the comments and I will reach out to you or DM me and I will get right back to you. Okay, so appraisals. The majority of the time, if you have a loan, you're probably going to need an appraisal. Exceptions would be if the lender gets everything and sends it in to underwriting and they say, nope, actually you qualify for an appraisal waiver. I was just at lunch with Angie Searles, a dear lender friend of mine who does a fantastic job, and she said she most commonly only sees that when you have 20% down. In this market, putting 20% down might not be extremely advantageous with how low interest rates are. So, hey Chris, how's it going? If you have questions, let me know. So you want to consider all of your options, but she said she personally hasn't seen it on anything with less than 20% down. A couple other factors play into that. That's more on the financing side, but you might be able to qualify for an appraisal waiver. And if you do, then it's up to you. You can still have an appraisal if you really want to know that the home is worth what you're paying for it. Or you can say, nope, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to keep that $700. Let's move forward and move past that. Let's see here. If you're cash, you don't need an appraisal. You can go forward with that without an appraisal. If you still want one and you're buying a home cash, you absolutely could pay to have one. Let's see here. Okay, so the appraiser and the appraisal basically are out there to look at the comps the way we look at comps to get you a value. They go out to the house. They are 100% on their own. So as realtors, we talk to the lender a lot. We make sure they have everything they need. We coordinate, we get them the paperwork. We work very, very closely with them. Appraisers and the lender can't talk. Realtors and the lender can't talk for the most part. There are exceptions where we can send them comps that they might have missed, or we can try and make an argument if we have a differing opinion on price or something like that. But we're not in contact with them, and they want that separate to make sure that they're not biased in their opinion. They're not vested in that sale, whereas the lender's vested, the realtor's vested. So it's a unbiased third party, basically, saying yes, the value's there. Appraisals are required by the bank, whereas like a home inspection, that's there for you, just for your peace of mind. You could ask the seller to do some things if you saw something on the inspection that you wanted done. Whereas the appraiser's there, it is to show the value, but it's also to protect the bank's best interest, right? Because the bank's not going to say, hey, I'm going to give you $350,000 for this home to buy it if it's only worth $300,000 even. Makes sense, right? Let's see here. One other thing to keep in mind with appraisals is it's not always just about the money. Appraisal flags are a real thing. And when I say appraisal flags, what I mean is anything that could be a safety or a structure issue. One more way of protecting that bank's investment and protecting your home is they'll walk around and they'll make sure, if the home was built before 1987, that there's not chipping paint all over that could have lead in it, that there's GFCI outlets that trip on their own next to water. Let's see here. I've seen it before where, let's say the curb, you're walking up to the house and the sidewalk or the curb is heaved enough that someone could trip over it very easily. That could get flagged. We've seen that. If the grading around the home, so the dirt coming up next to the home, if that's really, really low, or even sloping in toward the home versus getting the water away from the home. We've seen appraisers flag that even on a conventional product. Yeah, it could be a multitude of things. If the basement's really, really bad, the appraiser might flag the basement. Yeah. So when we're thinking about that and we're thinking about the types of loan product too, I know I just said a conventional product. Let me explain that a little bit more. If you're an FHA buyer, a USDA buyer, or a VA buyer, the appraisers tend to be more particular about those flags than if you're a conventional buyer. Part of the reasoning why is, I'm not even 100% sure, but what I've kind of been told, and don't quote me on this one, is that, you know, especially like the first time buyers might be using every single penny they've got to get into the homes. They really want to make sure there's not a really big issue right out the cuff for them to deal with, which makes sense. And then conventional, you're usually on your second home where you have a really good credit score, you're probably putting more money down. So with that product, it makes sense that they're not quite as particular about as many things. So recap on this. Appraisals are usually required when you have a loan, almost always, unless the lender submits everything for their first little take to underwriting and it comes back that there's an appraisal waiver option. We've been told by lenders that usually when you have 20% down, it's more likely to see that. Keep your eye out for appraisal flags. Your realtor should be keeping your eye out too while you're walking through the home, just noting anything that you might see, because that can factor into your offer. There's actually a section in Minnesota and in North Dakota that says if there needs to be a reinspection or if the appraiser finds a flag, so to speak, that the seller will agree automatically up to blank dollar amount. And that dollar amount could be whatever you'd want. In this market, you really want that to be zero because you're fighting to get any house you can. You're competing against different people, so you'd rather cross that bridge later than ask for that right away. But in a buyer's market, that could be a totally different circumstance. Appraisers are really there to protect your best interest, but also more so the banks. Make sure the value's there, make sure there's no safety or structural issues that are gonna be a big thing if the bank were to end up with the house again. Appraisal flags, it all is dependent on the appraiser. Every appraiser is a little bit different, but keeping your eye out for those GFCI outlets by water, so sinks, kitchens, keeping your eye out for chipping paint on older homes, especially on the exterior. Seems like that's where you see it more often anyways. Of course, it wears more. Really bad grading, that would probably come up in a home inspection. It might be something that an appraiser could flag. There's always a way to find a solution if you have a buyer who wants to buy and a seller who wants to sell. We have many contractors that, let's say the basement gets brought up, and we need to get some braces in there or something. We have different guys we've gone to who have come in. Ramjack's helped, Safe Basements. Bobby, our basement guy, also is clutch for stuff like that. And it might be a bigger amount than anyone has the ability to cover, but a lot of these guys are really good about getting us the invoices, getting paid out of closing proceeds. Everybody still moves forward. So there's always a solution. If you do run into a hiccup, don't panic. There's always a way to work it out if everyone still wants to make it work. Yeah, it's kind of a unique situation just because we don't have those relationships with appraisers like we do with everyone else. The realtor has a tight relationship with a home insurance agent, a lender, a home inspector, where we can just call them with questions. And sometimes I will still call appraisers and just ask them some questions not pertaining to a deal we have together. That's very taboo. You can't do that. And they've been helpful in the past. It's just not the same. So I hope this helped to shed some light on what appraisals cover when you need an appraisal and some other things you might not have known about, like the flags and the safety issues, structural issues that might get brought up in an appraisal and be required to be done to get to closing. If you have any questions about this appraisals, any real estate questions, please let me know. Especially if you are like, gosh, I wish she would talk about this. Let me know. I would love to know what to talk about next because I just keep pulling up random things and talking about them. And I see you people out and you're like, oh, it was so useful, which is amazing. But then tell me what to talk about. That would be super awesome. Anyways, I'll quit rambling now. Thank you all so much for your time. Let me know if you have questions or what you want to hear about. And you can follow me on almost everything at amber.realtor or ACarlton Realtor. My cell phone, all of that will be in the comments below. So hit me up if you need anything at all. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.